Today we are transforming the inside of this garage floor by installing plastic garage tiles in here. And installing these gives you some really good benefits over raw concrete. In this video, I'll talk about those benefits, I'll show you how to install these tiles, and then I'll show you the finished product in here. And I'll also be driving some cars on these so we can see how these hold up. Before I go ahead and start the install, I want to show you guys what these products look like. So again, these are from VEVOR and they're linked down below. And we have two styles of tile that I purchased. One of them is this flow-through design, and the flow-through design is open, so water could run through it and sit under there, so the part that you would step on or drive on would stay dry. Those I'm actually not going to be using for this install because I like these other ones a little bit better. So these tiles here are a diamond plate design, and you can see this one's a little bit warped, but once you install them, they actually flatten out super nice. To assemble these tiles together, you would put one down on the floor like that, and then they have a bunch of little tabs on there, and those tabs just pop into those receivers on the other tile. So it's as simple as lining up that tab and popping them right into place like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do this next one here. Line it up, got the tabs there, got the tabs there. Pop it right into place. So we're gonna get ready to start doing this whole entire garage here. What I'm gonna do is start at that wall on the garage, take everything off of there, and go from that wall this way and back. So what I'm gonna do for my color scheme is a mix of these three grayscale colors here. So I have black, their silver, and their charcoal gray. And I'm going to do an angular pattern, which you'll see as I go ahead and install it. So now let's start moving some stuff around and we'll begin this install. All right, so the first thing we need to do here is move this toolbox. So I'm going to close this, take it off of the blocks that I have set up so the drawers naturally close, and then put it on the ground and we'll roll it out of the way. All right, so now that we got everything out of the way here, we're gonna begin setting these tiles up. And the first thing to do is clean the concrete or the surface that all these tiles are going on. This will make sure there's nothing under there that's gonna distort the tiles, and it'll make sure that the tiles sit super nice and solid on the floor that you're covering. This brings me to the two major reasons that I went with these plastic tiles over just the raw concrete floor in here. And that is that one, when you brush concrete, especially older concrete like this, it tends to get very dusty and you'll never be able to stop that dust because it's literally the concrete layer turning into dust. And two, the plastic tiles provide a little bit of a barrier from the concrete, so it's slightly less hard and it should just give a tiny bit of insulation. So now I'll sweep this up and we'll begin laying the tiles into this area. All right, so I'm gonna put this in the corner here, and you could sort of see how this floor is gonna start to look. When I put this tile into the corner here, you could see that the nubs from the tile right here don't go all the way up against the wall, and if it doesn't matter to you, you don't necessarily have to do anything about that, but I wanna get this thing as flush up against the concrete as I can, so I'm gonna cut those nubs off. All right, so there are a lot of ways that you could cut these off. I just use this oscillating saw, which works really well. But you could use something like tin snips here. You could use a hacksaw or really any tool that will cut those off. So now if we go ahead and put this against the concrete, you can see that it sits nice and flush and there's no gap over on this side, which is exactly what I was looking for. All right, so to show you guys how to take these apart, they sort of just pop apart. So if you flex them a little bit, they should just come right apart like that. And that's all there is to it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and change my order up here, put the black tile on top here. Put the gray tile here. And now we'll start going right down the line. All right, so we probably installed about 20 square feet of this flooring so far, and it goes together pretty well. I started hitting it in with my hand, But if you're gonna do a full garage, it might get a little bit sore. So I started kicking them in with my feet after that, and it's a little bit easier. So right now, I think this floor is looking really good. There are some things I'm gonna have to do, like notch for this garage door. And as I go around this garage, there might be a few areas that I'm gonna need to continue to notch. For right now, this is looking good. We're gonna go ahead and keep installing this, and I'll keep you updated as we make big progress. All right, so we're probably about 100 square feet into this, and we have some better ideas for techniques other than kicking them and hitting them with our hand. So I got this mallet out here, and this does a really good job of just popping the tiles right down into place. And then also, you can just use your body weight and just clip it right in. So impressions of this floor so far is that it actually goes together pretty easy. It does look very good, and walking on it, it makes a little bit of noise. Sometimes the tiles shift a tiny bit, so we'll see shortly when we pull a car onto it how that is. But I think it looks really good. Right now it's getting dusty because we're walking on the concrete and then walking onto the tiles. And once this is all installed, I'll go through and really wash it so it comes out really, really nice. But yeah, I think it's looking great. We're gonna keep going here, and we're making really good progress. All right, so now I'm to an area of concrete that's really in the worst shape in this whole garage. So it's pretty deteriorated, and when I sweep this, a lot of dust comes up, and that's all just coming off of the concrete pad rather than sitting on top of it. So it's not like this dust fell off of a car. That's literally the concrete deteriorating as I sweep it. So this will go right over that. Another reason I went with this style floor over something like epoxy is I would have to smooth all of this out or use a lot of epoxy on this area and get it pretty thick. I didn't want to go through and need to level everything, prep this entire floor and get it ready for epoxy, because prep takes a very long time with epoxy, and it's much faster to just put one of these plastic floors down. So now we're going to keep going, and we'll show you as we make good progress. All right, so now we're at a place on the garage where I have this drain in the floor. So I'm actually gonna pull a few of these tiles out so I could pull a car in here to show you guys how that goes. So I'm gonna yank these two tiles up, we're gonna fill in around the drain, and then we're gonna pull a car in. So if you pull up on this edge, they just come right apart like that. And then it's gonna be the same thing here, pull up like that. All right, so now we got a large pad of this floor all installed. So I'm gonna pull a car in and just see if any of this pops apart, see if it looks like it's gonna hold up to continuous use, driving cars in and out. Right now we do have a large opening right here for that drain like I talked about, and I'm gonna fill this in. I gotta build that up a little bit and then cover it up and make that still removable. So I'll do that after, but I think it looks really good. Installation of this stuff isn't really too hard, which is nice. We've been at this for about an hour or so, and I would say we've done about 300 square feet. This garage is 620 square feet, and we're about halfway through. And yeah, installation on this stuff's pretty easy. We had 2 people working on it for most of it, 3 right at the end there, and we made really good progress on this really fast. So let's pull a car in and see how it holds up. All right, so we just drove on the floor. I drove on it with my Miata, which is a fairly light car, but it held up absolutely fantastic. No issues with anything breaking or popping out, and it really didn't even make much noise with stuff shifting, driving on and off of it, so I was really happy with that. So we're gonna go ahead, finish this floor install, and then I could do a more long-term review showing how this holds up, maybe in like 6 months or a year. Let me know down below if you would wanna see that, and then I'll show you the finished product in this garage. All right, so it is a few days later, and I finally have this entire floor installed in the garage. So the rest of this I actually ended up doing myself, and it really wasn't that bad. If you stage up your tiles and you're going and you get into a rhythm with a hammer, it does not take long to install this. I would estimate for this whole floor, it maybe took 3 or so hours total. So installation on these is really not bad. There are a few things that I varied a little bit from the original plan. If you come take a look over at this edge of the garage, you could see that I didn't end up tiling right up to the edge. If I were to do that, I would have measured from here to the edge and ripped them with a table saw and dropped them into place. But I actually kind of like the look with that little stripe on the side, and it made it a lot easier just to put the tiles in like this and not cut them. Again, back here, same sort of thing. It's just the raw edge of the tile without them trimmed off, and you could see the hooks here. So if I wanted to tile back to the wall and keep installing more, I definitely could. I have that option, but for now I'm pretty okay with it. And if you walk over here, if you're about 2/3 of the way through the garage, you actually can't even see the hooks on that edge of the floor, which I think is pretty nice. All right, so I want to show what I did for the pit in the middle of the floor here. So for this drain, I went ahead and made it so this is removable, and you can just peel it up out of place and slide it out of the way. And the way I did that is I cut off all of the tabs along the sides of the tile that fit right in there. So just like I was showing earlier in this video, you could cut those things off and it makes it so it does not latch. So I cut everything off on the piece that gets set into the floor, and then I also cut off all of the tabs on the existing floor. And this way I can just slide this right over into place, get it to drop down. And with this panel like that, I could drop it right into the floor and make it so the entire floor looks complete, even with that removable panel right in the center of it. All right, so another thing I actually didn't end up doing is notching the tiles here and sliding this all the way against the wall. Again, I got really good coverage with these tiles without doing those extra things, and it did make installation a lot easier. So if you wanted to do that, you could notch this stuff, move it up against the wall, and get an absolutely perfect fit. But for what I wanted to do, this worked out really well, and it saved me a lot of time on the install. All right, so before I show you guys the final product and get some glamour shots of the garage here, I want to show you guys how easy this is to clean. So I did pull this car in when it was wet, and the water sat right on top of the tiles, which was super nice, but it did track in some dirt and some pollen, and you could see it sort of all on the floor here built up. So right now I'm just going to take a normal broom to it and sweep it up. And it's super nice because compared to that original concrete pad, there's no dust and it just sweeps up very, very easily. And another benefit of the plastic over an old concrete pad is I could confidently go ahead and mop this, get any pollen and anything that's sort of sitting on the floor that needs a little bit of water to help lift it, and it'll take it right off. Whereas on the concrete, it would be a little bit harder and you might end up pulling up more of the floor. So I'm really happy with how cleanable this is and how durable it is. I've moved these cars around quite a bit on this floor at this point, and I haven't gotten any distortion or any signs of permanent damage. Granted, I haven't done it for a very long time and I could do a follow-up video on that, but for right now, it's looking pretty solid and I'm pretty confident in it. All right, so with that, we are pretty much wrapped up with this video. During this outro, I'm gonna show you guys some glamour shots of how this garage looks, and it was a fantastic transformation for not a lot of effort and not a lot of money. I have these tiles linked down below to where you could get them yourselves, and these tiles end up being about $2 a square foot. So this garage is about 620 square feet, and with the amount that I put in here, I spent a little bit under $1,000 on tiles. Now, VEVOR did provide me with about 100 square feet of tiles, but if I were to do this whole garage, I'd be looking at about $1,000 to $1,200, which in my opinion really is not bad for something that looks so good, something that is durable, and something that is easy to install. So with all that, again, I am super happy with how this install went and how it looks. If you guys have any questions on these tiles, leave them down below. Don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe for more garage videos and more videos on all of the project cars here on the channel. Thank you for watching.